This is Mario Andretti, and you are listening to Below the Yellow Line.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Below the Yellow Line podcast. Honored to have another great guest on the show today. So, Bob, if you would, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, Bob Sargent, promoter, co-owner of Track Enterprises, and just glad to be on here and talk to your people.
Absolutely. Short track racing is primarily what you do. A lot of stuff in the Midwest, promoted ARCA races, the truck race at the Milwaukee Mile as well. How did you get into your job? Has racing always kind of been part of your blood or no?
It really has. Grew up in a small town, Macon, Illinois, and we have a 5th-mile little fast dirt track here. Worked there in high school, went to college, came back, and this is all I've ever done.
Racing seems to be in the blood of a lot of local promoters, and I believe you co-own the Macon track as well now.
We did. Owned it for a long time, since 1985, and brought on some partners over the years, some NASCAR friends of mine, and then just recently sold it to Chris Kearns and his family.
Gotcha. Well, it's home, clearly, and you love it clearly as well. You promote a lot of short track events, whether it be on a national stage, a more local stage. What is it to you about short track racing that kind of draws you more towards it than road course racing or super speed racing? Just what is so special about short tracks?
Well, I think that's just what I was brought up doing, and a lot of my friends, whether they be other promoters and or racers and teams, seems like that's just the genre that I've been in. And we've branched out and done a lot of different types of short tracks, grassroots racing, we'll call it. I mean, do the dirt miles, again, the 5th mile at Macon. We've done half-mile Terre Haute, quite a bit of pavement racing now with our ASA Stars Tour, CRA Midwest Tour, and the Southern Super Series. So just so many to name. We do a lot with USAC, and again, quite a bit of pavement, quite a bit of dirt both.
They're both so unique. Short track racing, though, is kind of the heart of racing in this country. And I know all our listeners are probably just tired of hearing me say it. I've said it a lot as we've been interviewing a lot of short track owners and promoters recently, but it's a very important rung that you really can't miss if you're going to get to any higher level of racing in America or any country, really. For you as the promoter, and I love that you've been promoting and owning a small track, a 1/5 mile track. You've also done some stuff with ARCA and NASCAR. How does the promotion process and just the overall process of promoting a race on a national level, like the Milwaukee Mile race this past year for the Truck Series, differ from promoting like a local short track like Macon?
Well, there are a lot of similarities. I mean, we all open the gates, we all turn the lights on, we all make sure the facility's safe for both the participants and the fans, cleanliness, things of that nature. So a lot of similarities. Where it gets a little bit different if it's a one-off event like the Milwaukee Mile, the truck race, or if it's a every week thing where we rely on the same drivers and a lot of the same fans to return every week, 7 days apart every Saturday night, for instance. So I think that's where some of the differences come in. I think there's more similarities than there is differences.
For sure. Short tracks, they might have bigger stars or smaller stars racing on them, but they're still the same track, still tricky for everybody.
Right.
Let's see here. What do you think, and this is a bit more of a tougher question than I've asked some of these other people, and I apologize for putting you on the spot here, but what do you think is the biggest factor for racing, especially short track racing, with it being as important as it is to racing overall, to retaining the appeal that it has right now here in this country and worldwide as well? What are the steps that you think need to happen to keep racing, and especially short track racing, on the up and up?
Well, I think for our participants, that does translate over to more cars and happier participants. I think the expense of these racing machines is a big factor. I don't want to be, redundant or what everyone else is saying, but, and I'm not a good historian. So maybe, it seems like 50 years ago, some of the machines that they were racing, the expense of them didn't become a forefront like it is today. So I just feel that technology has driven the cost up of these these race cars, whether it be in the engine compartment, the chassis, the wheels, tires, shocks, you name it. That if we can all keep some cost containment, I think we'll be better off, and let more people participate, and do it more, especially on the weekly racing series, that more local hobbyists can afford to do this. And I think that we'll all be better off with that. So I think cost containment, obviously safety of these things has always been a factor. I think the industry has a good handle on that. We just have to keep diligent on safety, keep moving forward with that. But again, rules which lead into cost containment, I think.
Well, you said it best about the technology. I was reading a article, I think it might have been The Athletic the other day, reporting on the cost of what a NASCAR stock car, a Cup Series car costs to run now versus 10, 20 years ago. We have digital dashboards in them now, and then it had a little piece about I think sprint cars, I think, about their cost going up and the cost for parts and rules, how stringent everything is now, which is a good thing for competitiveness. Obviously, good racing is the biggest seller in anything, but the technology that we have on these cars is great, but it also does drive up the cost, and that could lead to smaller car counts, which less drivers, less action, less fans. So any drivers listening to this, if you're not sure about going out to the track, listen to Mr. Bob. Go to the track, take your car, and maybe swing by our local O'Reilly or Napa and see if they'll lend you a few bucks for tires. Maybe they don't do that like they used to do in the old days. I'm not sure, but hopefully they will. What is your favorite memory or moment from your tenure so far? And it might happen tomorrow. It might happen 10 years from now. But what is that right now?
I'm asked that a lot, and I again don't want to be vague about it, but I just enjoy the competitiveness of every event we put on. I want to make sure that the fans enjoy themselves, the racers have a good time and remain safe, and the best car will win that night. Just last week we had a USAC sprint car race in Indianapolis, Circle City, that we had a last lap pass. So that's my most memorable recently. But working with all these great drivers and teams has just been a blessing for me to be able to meet all these people and try to prepare the racetracks for them. And now as we, keep moving up and doing some more events, we get to work with more organizations, more different people in the industry. And I think that's what I really cherish the most is all the relationships and all the people that we get to work with.
The people in racing are unmatched. You will find just great people. And I've found it interviewing people. I found it just talking to people within the industry. My last question for you, sir, and I don't know if I'd really clarify this as silly. It was actually a comment that I got when I told some people you were coming on the show, posted that, and somebody had a question because they knew you and knew what you did. And, feel free to not answer if you feel like you can't. But we don't have the NASCAR schedule for next year yet. It keeps getting delayed and people keep getting frustrated. But can you tell us anything about the Milwaukee Miles availability for next year? I understand if you can't, but if you can, the floor is yours.
I can say there will be a lot of auto racing at the Milwaukee Mile next year.
Well, that is good to know. That is good to know. And hey, even if it's not NASCAR or if it is, the Milwaukee Mile is a track that I was very happy to see. I'm young enough where I had never seen it, or I think maybe the last time they raced on it, I had no clue what racing even was. So glad to see it back in any capacity. And thank you for answering that. I was a little scared to ask that question. I didn't want to get you fired or anything like that. But thankfully it all turned out okay. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And thank you for what you do as well, just helping out short tracks across the Midwest, promoting them as much as you can. And everybody's probably sick of hearing me say this for the upteenth time, but again, go to your local short track, watch it, on Flow Racing, listen on the radio if they do that, go to their socials, go to the website, help them out in whatever way you can. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
I agree. Thank you.